I hope everyone is having a great day. Today we're going to dive into, oh, this is a big one. We are checking out what is going on at Daystar. You should know that this church has made a name for itself, right? Yes, a lot of talk and big characters. Finally, Hey.Hey. They are now being accused of some pretty dangerous things. Right on. A lot of people have said things about these claims and how Daystar is handling things, or maybe not handling them. That's what we're here to do too. We want to get to the heart of what's being said, how Daystar is reacting or not reacting, and what it all means for Daystar and the world as a whole. Yes, because this isn't just a fight between members of the same church. The way things are going here has effects that go far beyond Daystar, certainly. What really struck me, and I think a lot of other people as well, was the difference between what Daystar has always been known for their image and these claims. That doesn't make sense at all. Yes, of course. It's like two totally different stories coming together. Yes, and Joni Lamb is at the center of it all. The names Steve Wilhite, Arnold Torres, Tom Callender, and Doug Wise keep coming up when we talk about her inner group. Our sources say that what they're being accused of goes against everything they've fought for in public. I mean, it all began with whispers, right? Yes, but now it is. Hey.Hey.Hey. Went off. There is a real problem, that's what some people are calling it. And it really does feel that way. But here's what I find so strange. Joni Lamb's silence comes first. As one observer put it, this person built her whole career on being outspoken and using fire and brimstone language. Still, there's nothing you can do to protect yourself or explain what's going on. For sure, and you know that silence says a lot in this case. It almost begs for more attention and questions. It makes you wonder what they're hiding from people who are said to be close to Daystar's board. We hear it's all about legal strategy. A lot of people are worried about things like lawsuits and donors back out. But that makes me think that preaching isn't a business, as our sources keep telling us. That is a very important point. Different hopes and dreams, right? Better quality. Yes, and some people are calling it arrogance, or even bad spiritual care. Even more so because Joni Lamb has criticized others in the past for not being honest. It looks like, well, there are two sets of rules. That's right, and you need to keep this in mind. People look to faith leaders to tell them what is right and wrong. It hurts a lot when that trust is broken. It's not just a normal business issue, you know. Also, what we hear about the mood at Daystar HQ doesn't sound good because of the situation. People are calling it a bunker mentality. What a scary thing to hear. Yes, it seems like they're hunkering down with emails not being answered and letters telling reporters to stop what they're doing. Most of the time, everyone agrees, right? Even Joni Lamb's co-host on Table Talk. Very much in sync. Now though, even they're quiet. It makes it seem like Daystar is pulling inward instead of facing things head on. When people answer that way, it often says more than any comment they could make. You have to wonder what they're scared of. For sure, and this silence isn't fooling anyone. People who used to be members or donors are all over social media, asking questions and voicing their anger. What I see as the main question is, if Joni isn't guilty, why is she hiding? And you know, our sources make it clear that the anger isn't just about possible bad money management. There's more to it than that. It's about trust being broken. These people thought Joni Lamb was a spiritual leader and are upset that she let them down. It can be very painful to feel betrayed. It shakes their beliefs and the town they live in. Yes, it is. And it's interesting that our sources say it has some similarities to other scams in the past. It's about leaders like Jim Bakker and Ravi Zacharias, who try to avoid facing charges head-on. They say that plan never works to make their point. It doesn't happen very often, especially in a faith-based setting. That's right, because we all have this need for sincerity and truth, and trying to hide things only makes things worse when they come out. From what we can tell from the comments, it seems like they're making themselves a deeper hole every day that Joni Lamb doesn't say anything. It makes sense for people to make that link. These cases from history show that trying to control the story usually doesn't work, especially when it comes to religious issues. That's because people can tell when the words and deeds don't match up, right? When we talk about separation, Joni Lamb has mostly kept quiet, but Steve Wilhite, A-Star's senior VP, took a very different stance. He responded on YouTube, but let's just say it wasn't very well thought out. It was more like a rant in which he called critics, get this, marketing bugs. I mean, really? Cockroaches as clickbait, you can do that. That's right, and it's very different from how the rest of the leadership has kept quiet. Our sources say this could be a sign that they're losing control of the story and are trying to hide it. It's different from how they usually do PR, and it doesn't seem to be working very well. Not at all, no. People had very bad reactions to Wilhite's tone. There was a joke about millennials not being our viewers that made me feel really angry and aggressive. Millennials are a big part of the future of, well, pretty much every church. People pointed that out right away. Of course, the way he acts also makes Joni Lamb's whole idea of religion look weak. Why should people be so mean if everything is in God's hands? It's hard to understand how they could be so angry when they usually teach about faith and forgiveness. It makes you wonder if they are being honest and if their deeds match what they say. Also, our sources tell us that Wilhite's rage wasn't something that just happened. It looks like it was okay with Joni Lamb's close friends and family. It was apparently thought that this kind of bullying would scare people away and stop them from criticizing further. The plan was risky, and it looks like it didn't work out. It really did. A lot of former donors spoke out against it, saying it wasn't like Christ. Use his words to talk about the poison. And even pastors asked on social media if calling people bugs is really in line with what Christians believe. It's a big PR mess, really. We are left to wonder who is giving them advice. And that's because it sends the message that Daystar might not be depending on divine help to get through this, but on fear. Steve Wilhite, who used to be more of a background figure, is now the face of all this hypocrisy. And when the person portraying them is so openly hostile, it can be very bad for their brand because it goes against everything they've built their image on. Let's talk about Tom Colander for a moment since his story is interesting. Our sources say that at first he stood by the reporters, Jonathan and Susie, and even used the Bible to defend them. After that he called Joni Lamb on the phone. All of a sudden things changed. That's interesting. So what did you do after calling? It's like a switch went off. All of a sudden, he starts talking about how the Bible can be interpreted in different ways when it comes to how important it is for the church to work together. His help for Jonathan and Susie is no longer there. Yes, that is a pretty big change. It makes you wonder what they said on the call. Yes, and some say that Colander actually said he was afraid of getting hurt and even named Doug Wise, though it's not clear if he said real threats or just suggested consequences. It looked like he lost his courage pretty fast. Our sources say this is about more than one guy being scared. They say it shows a bigger problem within Daystar and are wondering if other board members are involved but are too afraid to speak out. In a society of fear, trust is more important than telling the truth. And when things are like that, responsibility is impossible. Then there's the whole story with Arnold Torres. He met with Jonathan in private, but somehow news got out and reporters found out about it. The things we've heard about it don't paint a good picture. When Torres tells everyone to turn off their phones, she sounds very nervous and stumbles through what sound like threats. According to our reports, it smelled like fear all over. Looks bad. The worry and the secret are both red flags. That makes you wonder what they want to hide so badly. Right, and this behavior is linked to claims that Torres may have been involved in some shady business deals. We keep getting questions from our sources about why there is so much secrecy if Daystar is really honest and moral. That's a good question. Any group, but especially one that says it follows faith, should make transparency a core value. Yes, and since we're talking about behavior that makes you think, let's talk about Doug Weiss, Joni Lamb's sex therapist. It's fair that the accusations against him are true. Several people who worked there say that his appearance made the women very nervous. Reports say he stared at people inappropriately and used words that made everyone feel well creeped out. That is really worrying. Any group, but especially a church, should put safety and care for others at the top of their list of priorities. The best part is now here. Our sources say that Weiss wasn't just put up with. He was actually pushed by Joni Lamb and talked about at women's workshops. Even with all the complaints, this just doesn't seem to fit with Daystar's claimed commitment to Christian ideals and purity. It does. It makes you wonder about their reasoning and whether what they say matches what they do. It should be very important to protect people who are weak, especially in a faith-based setting, without a doubt. Then there's Joni Lamb's show Table Talk. According to our reports, Daystar is financially connected to everyone on that show. So how much freedom of speech do they really have? And what we see, not much. It's not so much a talk as it is an echo bubble. Yes, Joni. That's not good. You lose the ability to see things clearly and question your own views when you only hang out with people who agree with you. Even more, our sources say that table talk isn't really about talking about spiritual things. It's more like being brainwashed, where keeping a job means being loyal to Joni Lamb. They even talk about the idea of spiritual Stockholm syndrome, which is when people publicly back the leadership because they count on it for money, even though they have doubts behind closed doors. It's a scary thought, but it does happen sometimes. It can be hard to tell power the truth when people's jobs are on the line. This is especially true in a society as close-knit as Daystar. As you may have noticed, money seems to be the link between all of these things. The people we talk to say that Wilhite, Torres, Collender, and Weiss, who are close to Joni Lamb, all do what they do for money. People say that they are financially trapped because they are afraid of losing their six-figure salaries. It's even called worship because money is put ahead of spiritual beliefs. That's a pretty critical judgment, but it fits with what most people say. When making money is the main goal, it can turn even the most honest groups into criminal ones. And it's not just about one person, right? According to our sources, what's going on at Daystar is a sign of a bigger problem in modern evangelicalism. This pattern of keeping things secret, shutting down disagreement, and using loyalists to silence criticism keeps happening in these big megachurches and media groups. They make comparisons to Ravi Zacharias and Jim Bakker's PTL, and it's always the same story, putting people before ideals, and in the end it all falls apart. The cases you gave are strong, yes. It shows that this isn't just a problem with Daystar, it's a problem with the whole system that needs to be fixed. Of course, and this also has a religious aspect to it, right? Our sources talk about the book of James and the idea that teachers will be viewed more harshly. Daystar's leaders now have to deal with an extra level of moral responsibility. That is very important. It's not just about what will happen on earth, they are being held to a better level. And as for the future, well, Daystar's future is, to say the least, unclear. Our sources want to know if it will be a slow drop as donors and partners leave, or if more bad news comes out, it will all fall apart. The question that might be the most important is who will be less strong when everything is said and done. Who will it be? Those with real faith, or those who help make this happen? That's a question that everyone needs to think about. What do they really care about? What are they ready to fight for? Those are some tough questions. And our sources say that anyone who has been a part of the Daystar group needs to do some deep soul searching. The point is to find the line between being faithful and being involved. What point does backing an organization turn into making wrongdoing possible? It's not easy, but we have to do it. Yes, it's about taking responsibility for your actions and thinking about what you can do to change things. And I think the most important thing I learned is that we need to talk about more than just rumors and gossip about Daystar. Making these big departments really answerable for their actions is what needs to be done. How can donors and members of the congregation tell the difference between real leaders and those who are attractive but only care about themselves? The sites we used give us a strong thought. Systems that are based on lying and force can't last. The truth always comes out. Who will still be there when it does? It's important to think about that question because in the end it's about the honesty of our faith and holding our leaders to the greatest standards. I couldn't have said it better myself. To sum up our in-depth look at what's going on at Daystar, we've looked at the claims against Joni Lamb and those close to her, the different reactions we've seen or not seen, and the possible reasons for everything. And of course what this means for evangelicals in general. Based on the information we have, our goal has always been to give you a clear and straightforward picture of a complicated situation. Really, it's an interesting case study. It shows the conflict between faith and responsibility, as well as the difficulties of running big, powerful groups. That brings us to our last thought for you to think about. What do you think should be done to protect faith groups and their leaders based on what we've talked about so far, including the past similarities and how important it is to be held accountable? What can we do to make sure that everyone acts in an honest and moral way? This question isn't just about Daystar. It has to do with the faith that guides us and the trust we have in those who lead us. We need to have this talk. And hopefully, this deep look has given you some things to think about and talk about with your own groups, because that's what it's all about, making things stronger.